Finally, consider God's involvement. Look what David says in verse 11. He says, leave him alone. Let him curse, for the Lord has told him to do so. Now, I would argue that this is probably descriptive, not prescriptive, right? I don't think the Lord told Shimei to curse David out. But here's the thing. Shimei is culpable for his own sin and the own sin that he has in his heart. But this illustrates that sometime criticism falls in the sovereign will of God. And somebody's like, well, Jesus, why in the world would you let them criticize me like this? Why would you let them talk bad about me and ruin my reputation and this good name that you've given me, Jesus? Why would you do this? Here's why. Because sometimes God allows criticism like this because he wants to expose you to what's in your heart. Because when your character and your reputation and your abilities are questioned, the state of your heart is immediately laid to bear. It exposes us to this fact that oftentimes our reputations are more important to us than God's reputation. It exposes how self-centered we are. And we are willing to defend our reputations at all costs. And let me tell you, that's just called pride. You know what pride is? It's subtle self-deification. And that's what we do. Our pride says we minimize the benefits and the skills that God has given us, and we use them to kick him off the throne of our hearts and to put ourselves there. And then prideful people are never satisfied with their own high estimation. They want other people to join in. And the reason that we struggle, and I struggled at that table to receive criticism, is because deep down in this dark heart of mine was some pride. But you know what the resurrection teaches us? That in that same dark grave, that life can come forth. What that shows me is that in the middle of our dark hearts that are filled with pride, the light of Christ can burst forth. Let me finish up on this. I know that it's very easy for some of us to empathize with David. Some of us are like, yes, I have been the victim of slander. But let me just tell you that you and I are more like Shimei. Because we use our words subtly crafted to hurt people's reputation. We use our corrosive words to burn people. Sure, you may not be throwing rocks in public, but many of us have murmured and gossiped in private. And sadly, and I'll admit to this as well, we are willing to tolerate flaws in ourselves that we will crucify other people for. Paul would say it like this, "Oh, wretched man that I am." But I want you to see something, that this passage is more than just dealing with criticism. This is ultimately a story that points to Jesus. Because Jesus is the greater David. And we are the Shimeis that he's shown grace towards. You and I were enemies of God. In old words of the old preacher, we were far from the peaceful shores, sinking in a sea of sin. We were that sheep that was lost in the wilderness that the shepherd came and found and put on his shoulders. We've kicked God off of the throne of our hearts with our self-centeredness. But 2,000 years ago on a cross called Calvary, on a hill called Golgotha, Jesus went to the cross. And on that cross, he endured your shame. He took your sin and my sin upon his shoulders. He endured all of the pain of the past so that we could have a beautiful relationship with God moving forward. He forgave us of all of the sins and crimes that we committed against him. He forgave us for all of this so that we can walk in this prosperous future.